All right, here we go. This is what do you call it? Me on my soapbox, right? A lot of times I get on this soapbox and I just vent. But this one is about hiring a writer, the importance of hiring a writer. I know we, gosh, what's the best way to say it? We've been talking about how much it costs to make a comic book. How much should you pay an illustrator? How much do colorists get paid? How much do inkers get paid? And your main sketch artists. But we never really talk about how much does the writer get paid. I mean, we know you can't make a comic without illustrations, no doubt. That's like half and even more, you know, and throwing in the letterer, you know what I'm saying? That's important too. You can't, you know, even though some pictures don't have words, what's going on the page was described and relates to the story. So it's not just a random picture. Even if it's a random picture in the story, it still relates to something that was an idea, something that somebody thought of, even if it's the illustrator interpreting what should be going on in the story, right? Because there's various forms of scripts, especially when it comes to comics. There are scripts that are very detailed and precise, probably down to the color of the characters' laces and socks, right? But then there are also scripts that are very vague and broad and give the artist a lot of freedom to interpret the panels and pacing even. Sometimes they just say, you know, these are the things that happen, and you can actually take 20 pages to make them happen, you know, and then the writer will come back and put lines and the sort of guide the screenplay, the script that way and the comic book that way. I've definitely turned on to that, and actually I have a script that I'm going to talk to an illustrator about interpreting just that way, because I want to see what they do. I want to see how it comes out. But that's another way to do it. But don't get it twisted. There are people that can, you know, Tony Perrier, he's a good writer and a good illustrator. So there are people that can do both, but understand they are individually good in both. You understand? So he might have taught himself how to illustrate. I'm pretty sure he was a good learner and taught himself how to write. You know what I'm saying? The information is there. He made it. He learned it. So credit to him. But for me, or not really for me, but in general, there are two separate arts. You know, the art of writing and the art of illustrating, and whatever aspect of illustrating, whether it's coloring, whether it's inking, whether it's the sketch, all of that is an art. You know what I'm saying? And because it is, there's some people that are not good at all of it, but are still great. There's of course, there's plenty of writers that can write a banging story that can't draw anything past the stick figure. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of those, right? But you know, even writers get better as they start outlining their stories and they, you know, vision things, and they start becoming more descriptive, and they have their own opinions on how stories can be, you know, illustrated. And then there's illustrators, just like, you know, we're filmmakers. These guys are good cinematographers. They're good sound people, and they've been working on film for a while. They end up picking up skills on how to be a writer. But don't get it twisted. Writing is its own art. And the problem I have with both film and comic books is that you have illustrators that don't hire writers. You have filmmakers, cinematographers, directors that don't hire writers. And then, you know, and that's cheesy, you know, and we wonder why the genre is still hasn't blown up to the level that it should have blown up. And I every day I'm reading a story today that I feel could be better. You know what I'm saying? And I mean some really fundamental mistakes that a writer can pick up on, because we battle with our editors all the time. I'm not saying even all writers know how to write great. There's levels of that. Hell, that's the other problem that I have with illustrators. There's levels of illustration. I had a illustrator come up to us at a convention and ask us, to check out his portfolio. And people asked him, have you done, sequentials and stuff like that? And he was like, well, I've done a few pages. Here's a comic book that I'm working on. And it was nice. It was real cool, But to be honest, so they said, how much do you charge? And he was like $100 a page. And I'm like, I'm down with $100 a page, but do understand that $100 a page is a certain level of illustrational professionalism. It's not only the illustrations, it is the professional ability to deliver the work and interpret the work. That's a level. Sure, you might be doing everything. You might be doing lettering, you might be doing coloring, you might be doing inking and the sketch for your $100. No doubt. That's a whole lot. That's like $350 all in one. You know what I'm saying? $100 for the sketch, $100 for the inking, $100 for the coloring, and $50 for the lettering. And lettering can even be cheaper than that. I know people that letter for $10, $20 a page. But there's an art to lettering as well. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not even going to cheese lettering, right? But there's an art to it. And because there's an art to it, there's levels. There's people that are illustrating, and I respect them, to get their name out there. They're at $30 a page. I respect that. I'm not going to hate on that, because they're not at the $100 a page level. And for me, it is subjective, but at the end of the day, if I take a page that somebody did for $30 and hold it up to another person who charges $100, and people can't tell the difference, then there's a situation right there. So you do need a certain amount of illustration quality to come out with your stories. But at some point, some of these people's stories, these illustrators are not on a level as other ones. And I'm talking to a breaking into the art illustrator, and I love your work. It looks real banging, but I don't know, one, if you can interpret my story, if you can deliver it on time too, you know what I'm saying? And so all of those things are important. If I'm paying $100, I don't want to have to wait 2 weeks for a page, 3 weeks for a page, 6 months for 10 pages, a year for 24 pages. That's important. I understand, but at some point that takes too long. And then for illustrators, if you're sitting on a comic book that you're illustrating and you say, I have the story, but it's taking you forever to get it to finish it, then that's writer's block. There's nothing else. It's writer's block. It may not be illustration block, because I'm going to tell you that if you knew what you wanted to put on them pages, you would be able to illustrate it right off the bat. I know illustrators that take commissions in between their stories, so don't tell me you don't have time to illustrate your comic book. You taking commissions, right? Why are they taking commissions? Because they hit a writer's block in the story. That's me. That's what I'm guessing. So what I suggest is hire a writer. Barter with them. You understand? Sure, $100 a page is what writers can charge, but say, dude, I'll give you $30 a page. Now, if there's other writers that may have written successful books, we got awards. So you have the Eisner, you have the a Gift Award, You know what I'm saying? If they won a Glyph Award, yo, then that's an award-winning writer. You know, maybe they want to charge you $100, but you're going to get a banging story. Most of these illustrators haven't won an award for a good story in a comic book. They may have won for a good illustration, no doubt, but even good illustration or good illustrated books can't keep readers buying books after books after books. The story has to be decent. You may get them the first one, but if they don't connect to that story, they're not going to keep buying you. So I say to illustrators that if you are stuck, right, and there's nothing wrong with it, writers get writer's block, right? But if you're stuck in your story, right, and you started illustrating it, you got 8 pages in, and now you stuck, but then you have writer's block. And I suggest you consult your nearest writer. Put it up there on Black Comics. Yo, who can help me? I need a writer. $30 a page, $100 a page, whatever you want to charge. Depends on the writer. They may say, yo, I'm gonna come in, I'll do it for you. You know what I'm saying? You do these pages for me. Okay, that might be possible. Might be you do this cover for me. You know, barter. We all in the same industry. That works. I feel the same way about filmmakers. I don't think any independent filmmakers really hire writers. You understand? They may buy stories. They may find a story that a writer already has. You know what I'm saying? But many of them try to write stories themselves. And even with writers, we have editors, we have proofreaders. That's our final product. We're the one, you know, the written story is our story. You know what I'm saying? So we hire all these people. I don't know if filmmakers that write their own screenplays hire proofreaders, editors, and other people to check your story out. But I know writers do, and if they don't, they should, you know, because that's part of writing. So I say all of this in my blog today, which is the importance of just hiring a writer. I don't know what, you know, the delay is in this happening and why I have to put this up, but whatever is keeping people from really hiring writers, it needs to, I'm trying to break that tradition. I'm trying to open it up and show us that, you know, we can hire each other, and that a writer is a good thing to hire. As a writer is as good as a good letterer. Probably better, right? A writer is as good as a good colorist. You know how important a colorist is to a page and getting a real good colorist? Well, writers are just as important as that, just as good as a good sketch artist. I mean, there's a lot more to sketching a page than sketches on the page. Sometimes you need a sketch artist to have the vision of the story, to know when to merge panels, to know when to make things inserted. Those things are important. They help tell your story. You know, there's a lot of illustrators that do just what you tell them. They don't bring anything other than their illustration to the table. But then there's other illustrators that have a vision for your page, have a vision for your story. That's a different level. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, you got to agree with it, whoever's paying for it. So if you're paying for it, if you're paying for a writer, you can change it. You can say, yo, change this. If you're paying for the illustrator, it's your story. You can say, yo, no, I want that as a separate close-up on that panel. You know, so that's how I feel. I mean, I know I was really focusing mostly on the comic book pages, but the same thing goes for film. We need to hire writers. Yes, buying a screenplay is important. Buying a story is important and all that, but hire that script writer to be a part of your team. Come to your set, sit on there, and make sure everything and all the changes and the improvisations that the actors do and things you may have to do, still keep that story intact. And that's what your writer can do. Other than that, I'll talk to you later. Deuces.